What's going on, YouTube? Edward here today, and we are going to talk about a series that's been making headlines everywhere. I think you know what I'm talking about. It's Netflix's Making a Murderer. And that is by far, it's become one of the most controversial documentaries like ever made because it essentially exposes the corruption in our justice system, or at least if not U.S. as a whole, the Wisconsin justice system. Anyways, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I suggest you go to Netflix or somehow watch this video, watch this series. It's a 10-part series, and yeah, then come back to this. But if you don't care and you just want to hear me talk about it, then cool. Just warning, there are spoilers, so let's get right into it. Stephen Avery. He is a man back in '85 who first gets convicted of a rape and he gets sentenced to jail. 18 years later, he gets exonerated for DNA, through the DNA proving that he was innocent after all. Gets out in 2003. 2005, he gets accused again of rape and murder. And this time he gets convicted again. And as of right now, he is serving a life sentence in jail for killing and raping a girl named Teresa Halbach. And the story is absolutely wild. And the documentary basically goes through a ton of like news clippings and like anything that was recorded in the courtroom, because I guess this was highly televised within probably the Wisconsin world. I don't know about nationwide because I don't remember this at all. But yeah, it made headlines everywhere. And basically the whole story is essentially, from at least from the point of view of the creators, is saying that Stephen Avery was screwed over. He was an innocent man, and he got convicted again of a crime he did not do, and he should be let go or at least given a new trial. Obviously, the video itself, the documentary, is super biased, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about like whether he's innocent or whatever. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, what actually does matter, because when you look at what happens and look at what happened during this trial and how it proceeded, you can clearly tell like this guy was not given a fair trial in any shape or form. The first time and the second time. In the first time, like they comes around, they convict him of rape, and it's ridiculous because they only see him as like the suspect. Like there's only one suspect, that's him, and the cops don't even go like remotely into investigating anyone else, even though there was a rapist, like a felon rapist in the town at the time. They didn't even bother knocking on his door. And the craziest thing is that after they convicted Avery, that guy went on to keep continuing raping women. And it's just like, when you get the wrong guy and and this is not like petty theft, not that, petty theft is like an okay crime or something like that. But you realize when you make a mistake that big and the other guy gets away, he's still going around doing his bad crap. Like that's mind-blowing, right? So obviously, the second time around, you have to wonder to yourself, dude, like you better get the right guy this time, or otherwise this other dude, it's not just rape this time, we're talking about murder and like bodily mutilation. So I mean, this is like the stakes are even higher this time around. But anyway, so after watching this and just trying to wrap my head around everything, and then like reading articles online about like evidence that was left out and all this shenanigans, it really made me scared, honestly, like of our own justice system. Because if you think about it, no matter how much money you have, like the cards can be stacked against you so hard that like, it doesn't even matter if you can afford like the best lawyers in the world, because the way that the state of Wisconsin like played their cards and like played like their hand, essentially, it was so meticulous and it was so biased to essentially turn the entire state against him. I mean, every time they had remotely any more evidence or anything about the murder, they would go like on a press conference and announce to the world like, oh, this is what happened, we're like 100% sure, blah 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 blah. It doesn't even matter if it's real or not. They'll just go on television saying it. And this is before the trials even starts, right? So now you have everyone hearing all this information. You go jury selection. Oh, guess what? Sorry. Like, you can't really get an unbiased person in there because everyone's either thinking one way or the other. oh look, he got convicted, he's getting arrested again, he's probably innocent, or or they're the other side, which is like, okay, I think he's completely guilty because the cops found all this crap. So, it's really hard to find. It's really hard to essentially have a real legit like fair case, which is like all of our constitutional, as Americans, our constitutional right is that we have a fair trial and that we're innocent until proven guilty. And arguably, Stephen Avery went into this trial guilty until proven innocent, which is not how our court system works. So it was crazy, like what the things went, how the proceeding is just like all ridiculous. And I'm not saying Stephen Avery is like innocent or guilty. Regardless of all that, what needs to happen at this point is a new trial. Like how this was not ruled a mistrial is beyond me. How the judge can sit there and just be like, yeah, like I'll allow all this crap to happen and pretend like it's okay. Like it's so ridiculous how even the Wisconsin Supreme Court did not come back and be like, whoa, stop. Like, this is stupid. You guys are not doing things properly. Like, we got to do this again from the start. Like, it's amazing that none of that happened, right? So, and at the end of the day, like, right now, like, Stephen Avery, he essentially has no more appeals. Like, he's exhausted all of his appeals. And the only way to prove his innocence at this point is to find new evidence. And get a new trial going on. Interestingly, I just read like an article about how the Americas or the U.S.'s #1 appeal attorney is now working for Avery. Like, according to the article, she's secured over $90 million for people who have been wrongly convicted, and that's like her clientele. Essentially, takes up cases where people feel like they've been wrongly accused. And she like interviews them, goes through the proceedings, goes through all this crazy, like all the facts, right? Like goes through all the paperwork, and then I guess she has like extremely high rate of like getting appeals and like exonerating people for whatever reason. So now she's on the case. So now that he's got her on his side, something may turn up in the next year. I don't know, 6 months, who knows, right? But she's been tweeting like crazy. I really suggest you go Google her and like look this up because she's been tweeting about all this stuff and she's been tearing apart, the prosecution's defense and like the prosecution's like argument and everything and evidence. Overall, I think it's a really good documentary. Like I said before, it creeps me out because the reason everyone should care about this is because, you never know when you're gonna find yourself on the defendant, on like, defending yourself in court. Hopefully, knocking on wood, it doesn't happen to any one of you or me or like anyone else, in this country. But it could be anything, right? Like you could be in there for a DUI, you could be in there for something as simple as just like, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and if like the court system is arguably super biased and is just like you get a judge or you get like a prosecution attorney that's like just super like hates on you and like does all this manipulation, like there's very little things that you can do about it. And like the whole point is that you want like a fair trial, so hopefully it never happens to anyone. Like happened already to one person, God knows how many other people it's happened to within this country right now, but clearly it could be happening everywhere, and like you should care about it because you never want to find yourself in a situation like him. That's all I have to really say because I want to keep this video short. But anyways, let me know what you think of the documentary if you've seen it. If you haven't, go watch it, come back, let me know what you think. I'll talk to you guys later.